All right, so the next one is House Bill 4484, and I realize this is probably boring you out of your gourd. I'm sure you're bored out of your gourd is what I usually say, but anyway, this is not really for entertainment per se, even though I'm a dork and I try to make it a little silly, probably at the wrong times, but it's more for educational purposes, so I apologize, it's pretty boring. And the first half of this video, I had one eyebrow sticking down, and that's super annoying and embarrassing, and that's all I could think about, so try not to pay attention to that, even though I just mentioned it, and now that's all you're gonna be able to see. Ugh. But it's always one thing. It's always like a hair that like stuck up the entire video, and you know, I can see myself and still didn't notice, you know, it's always something ridiculous like that, so forgive me that there's always something weird in my videos. I do my best. Anyways, House Bill number 4484. A bill to amend 1961 PA 236 entitled Revised Judicature Act of 1961 by amending sections 6431 and 6452, which is why they keep referencing all these things, is because they're taking sections 6431 and sections 6452 and like changing them up and saying different words and crossing stuff out. So that's why you got to go back and forth and see what is what and what is connected to what. And then it says MCL 600.6431 and 600.6452. Section 6431 as amended by 2020 PA 42 and section 6452 as amended by 2020 PA 44. So it's like some amendments have already happened, so they got to include those that like, hey, some amendments already passed and they're there and we have them written in the documents, and now we're gonna revamp these ones and add some stuff or take some stuff away, so yikes. Like I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, like if the president has to approve a bunch of bills, like this is the stuff they be reading and trying to understand and like, okay, and like just sign away. I bet you that's why some stuff just gets passed and you're like, what the heck, why is this even a law? Because you can like sneak a bunch of stuff in here, and sometimes like who knows if they actually want to read it all. I'm not like trying to like doubt our political system, but like honestly, this is a lot. I mean, I would just be like skimming if I had to do this every day, like, oh, okay, like, well, yeah, sure, sounds good. Sorry, that's just my interjection, but it's just crazy seeing how this stuff works. So, the people of the state of Michigan enact Section 6431. All right, Section 6431, number 1. Except as otherwise provided in this section, a claim may not be maintained against this state unless the claimant, within 1 year after the claim has accrued, files in the office of the clerk of the court of claims either a written claim or a written notice of intention to file a claim against this state or any of its departments, commissions, boards, institutions, arms, or agencies. Another number 2. A claim or notice under subsection 1 must contain all of the following. A statement of the time when and the place where the claim arose. B, a detailed statement of the nature of the claim and of the items of damage alleged or claimed to have been sustained. C, a designation of any department, commission, board, institution, arm, or agency of the state involved in connection with the claim. D, a signature or verification of the claimant before an officer authorized to administer oaths. 3, a claimant shall further furnish copies of a claim or notice filed under subsection 1 to the clerk at the time of the filing. 4, transmittal to the Attorney General and to each of the departments, commissions, boards, institutions, arms, or agencies of this state designated in the claim or notice. 4, for a claim against this state for property damage or personal injuries, the claimant shall file the claim or notice under subsection 1 with the clerk of the court of claims within 6 months after the event that gives rise to the claim. 5. This section does not apply to either of the following. A claim for compensation under the Wrongful Imprisonment Compensation Act. we read a little bit about that in the other thing. 2016 PA 343 MCL 691.1751 to 691.1757. B, a claim to recover damages because of criminal sexual conduct, as the term is defined in section 5851B. By the end of this, if I gotta read that 1,000 times, I might actually be able to memorize something. But there it is again, referencing that. So you go back and be like, okay, what did that say? Section 6452. 1. Every claim against the state cognizable by the Court of Claims is forever barred unless the claim is filed with the clerk of the court or an action is commenced on the claim in federal court as authorized in section 6440 within 3 years after the claim first accrues, except as modified by this section, chapter 58. Relative to the limitation of actions also applies to the limitation under this section. The Attorney General, or number 3, the Attorney General has the same right as a creditor under the statutes of this state to petition for the appointment of a personal representative of the estate of a deceased person. 4. The Attorney General has the same right as a superintendent of the poor under the statutes of the state to petition for the appointment of a guardian of the estate of a minor or any other individual under disability. Now, this bill, I don't really understand all that well, because it's getting into some stuff that I'm like, what? Number 5, this section does not apply to either of the following. A claim for compensation under the Wrongful Imprisonment Act. So it's saying like this stuff doesn't apply to this, so I don't really know. B, a claim to recover damages because of the criminal sexual conduct as the term is defined in section 5851B. Enacting section 1, section 643 of the Revised Judicature Act of 1961, 1961 PA 236 MCL 600.6431. As amended by this amendatory act applies retroactively. Enacting section 2, this amendatory act does not take effect unless all of the following bills of the 102nd legislature are enacted into law. So it had that at the end of each one is saying like they basically don't count unless all of these are enacted into law, which are the 4482 and 4483. This one is 4485. I will try to get a little bit quicker on these because there's still a few more, and I mean, yeah, it's kind of, when people are voting for things and supporting things, it's really difficult. Like, you really got to dig into like, what are you actually saying yes to? Because it's a lot, and if you don't understand it, it's like, should I be voting for this? Because some of these, the wording seems like, wait, would I be helping people do, like, the one that was talking about the malpractice? I was like, wait a second, I don't want them to only have 2 years to be able to like file a complaint about that. I think they should have way more time. So it can be a little tricky. All right, section 24, an indictment, I don't know how to say that word. For any of the following crimes may be found and filed at any time. A, murder, conspiracy to commit murder, or solicitation to commit murder, or criminal sexual conduct in the first degree. B, a violation of chapter, whatever number that is, of the Michigan Penal Code, 1931 PA 328 MCL 750.200.2 750.212A. And sorry if I'm not like pronouncing all these things correctly. Like, they might have like a way to like say all this stuff and I'm not doing it right. Sorry. That is punishable by imprisonment for life. C, a violation of that number of the Michigan Penal Code, 1931 PA 328 MCL 750.462A to 750.462H. That is punishable by imprisonment for life. D, a violation of the Michigan Anti-Terrorism Act, chapter, whatever that is, of the Michigan Penal Code 1931 PA 328 MCL 750.53 or 543A2 57053Z. It's 543Z. Oh my goodness gracious. That is punishable by imprisonment for life. You might be better off just reading those yourself so you can like skim across and not be like so specific on each of the numbers. But letter E, a violation of section 520C or 520D of the Michigan Penal Code 1931 PA 328 MCL 750.520C and 750.520D. Number 2, an indictment, I just don't know how to say that word, for a violation or attempted violation of section 13, a bunch of numbers. I'll just say 462B through 462E of the Michigan Penal Code. Just look it up if you feel like it. Bunch of numbers again, and may be found filed within 25 years after the offense is committed. This subsection shall be known as the Teresa Flores Law. Probably something happened with Teresa, and they had to make a law about it. Cut out a bunch of stuff, and then down here it says an indictment for a violation or attempted violation of section, lots of numbers again, Michigan Penal Code, lots of numbers again, lots of numbers, and lots of numbers, may be found filed as follows. Except as otherwise provided in subdivision B, an indictment may be found and filed within 10 years after the offense is committed or by the legal or by the alleged victim's 21st birthday. So if someone commits murder against them, they kept until their 21st birthday to like tell on them. What? Okay, a lot of this is like so confusing. And most of this stuff is like already there in the laws, you know, like it's already there. When they say like, oh, section such and such, that means it's already there, and like we're basically voting to have this stuff changed, and like the bill is just like rewriting some of this stuff. But like as it is originally, it's like, wow, can we change some of this stuff that's already there? Like more than what they're already trying to change? So whichever is later. If evidence of the offense is obtained and that evidence contains DNA that is determined to be from an unidentified individual, an indictment against that individual for the offense may be found and filed at any time after the offense is committed. However, after the individual is identified, the indictment, I wish I knew how to say that word, indictment, I don't know, and may be found and filed within 10 years after the individual is identified or by the alleged victim's 21st birthday, whichever is later. I'm not sure if this is like all those things that happened, like if it's a sexual crime, if it's murder, if it's whatever I think it's talking about. Then they crossed off like 3 paragraphs worth of stuff and then says, as used in subsection DNA means human human deoxyribonucleic acid. I never knew that's what DNA stood for. I just saw that on a movie where she was like, I don't know what DNA stands for. It's the stuff that everybody else has, like every individual has, or something like that. She was like, I don't know what it stands for. But yeah, I cannot say that word. Deoxyribonucleic acid. Identified means the individual's legal name is known and the individual has been determined to be the source of the DNA. Okay, so it was giving us examples of what does DNA even mean, because when they say a legal definition or whatever, then they have to like give you like the definition of it, and then they'll reference another thing that has the definition of it. Yikes. Okay. Number 5, an indictment for kidnapping, extortion, assault with intent to commit murder, attempted murder, manslaughter, armed robbery, or first degree. I had no idea these bills went into all this stuff. Whew. I thought it was just about sexual conduct, so like you really gotta read stuff before you know if you should vote on it or not. Anyways, or first degree home invasion. Not that any of this stuff is bad necessarily, it's just like it's a lot to like know what you're supporting, which is why I think it's important to like let y'all know, like look into things yourself. Or first degree home invasion may be found and filed as follows. A. Except as otherwise provided in subdivision B, an indictment may be found and filed within 10 years after the offense is committed. Okay, so the things it was saying, all the bad things. Kidnapping, extortion, assault, the intent to commit murder, all those things is what this is talking about. Like the rules about who can tell on who, or when you can tell on somebody, or how long you have. Except as otherwise provided in subdivision B. An indictment may be found and filed within 10 years after the offense is committed. If the offense is reported to a police agency within 1 year after the offense is committed and the individual who committed the offense is unknown, an indictment for that offense may be found and filed within 10 years after the individual is identified. So basically, like, you got 10 years to tell on this person, and if the person's not identified, you have 10 years once that person gets identified, I guess. This subsection shall be known as Brandon D'Annunzio's law. Something must have happened to Brandon, and they got a law about it. As used in this section, identified means the individual's legal name is known. So when a bad guy gets identified, that's what it means, is they know their real name. 6. An indictment for identity theft or attempted identity theft may be found and filed as follows. How long have I been going? Oh, 60 minutes. I'm trying to speed it up. A. Except as otherwise provided in subdivision B. An indictment may be found and filed within 6 years after the offense is committed. So if somebody steals your identity, you got 6 years to tell on them. B. If evidence of the offense is obtained and the individual who committed the offense has not been identified, an indictment may be found and filed at the time after the offense is committed, but not more than 6 years after the individual is identified. So basically it's important, like if they're not identified, you got that amount of time after you identify him, you have that many more years, like 6 more years to be able to file a claim. Number 7, as used in subsection 6, identified means the individual's legal name is known. Identified theft means one or more of the following. A letter I. Conduct prohibited in section 5 or 7 of the Identity Theft Protection Act 2004 PA 452 MCL 545.65 and 445.767. People are gonna laugh so hard, like, why is she talking like this? This is not how you read this stuff, and I'm so sorry. I don't know how to read that stuff, okay? Especially when they use like 100 Roman numerals. Alright, conduct prohibited under former section 285 of the Michigan Penal Code, 1931 PA 328. Number 8, an indictment for false pretenses involving real property versus fake property, forgery, or uttering and publishing of an instrument affecting an interest in real property or mortgage fraud may be found and filed within 10 years after the offense was committed or within 10 years after the instrument affecting real property was recorded, whichever occurs later. 9. Oh, mailman scared me. All other indictments may be found and filed within 6 years after the offense is committed. 10. Any period during which the party charged did not usually and publicly reside within the state is not part of the time within which the respective indictments may be found and filed. 11. The extension or tolling as applicable of the limitations period provided in this section applies to any of those violations for which the limitations period has not expired at the time the extension or tolling takes effect.